Hello, hello, hello. This is Ross Vertel, faithful reader on the forums, and I am coming to you with a very special preview for First Edition Worlds 2026. Unfortunately, it's just me. I am far from an expert. Please do not take anything I say with too much of a any air of authority or expertise at all. But stick around and listen to me yammer about what you may or may not see at Worlds in 2026. So, one of the things that I do is I keep track of what affiliations, factions are played or not played since the prior Worlds. I do this every year. I call it the player year as opposed to a calendar year or a school year. It's my player year. I'll be finishing it up with what I have with what is played in Worlds this year, at which point I will start a what I call Player Year 2027 for next year. So, without further ado, since Worlds 2025, the most played affiliation faction in first edition is Federation. This shouldn't be too much of a shock, although I've been keeping track of both first edition and second edition. First edition Federation is the only affiliation to get into the double digit milestone, which makes sense because to play TNG Federation or TOS or the films, you need to be playing Federation. So with this, the two buckets that I'd expect to see most of it Worlds would be TNG, just quick solver, get cards out, solve the mission, done. But also the TOS and motion picture, well, classic films era. They're both pretty popular. I would put classic films above the um, original series, but I imagine that both are pretty viable that you should expect to see at some point. I will keep track of both days when I look at worlds as a whole. All right. So with the Federation crack number 10, number 9 are Cardassians. And I've got to say there have been 9 Cardassian decks, but a pretty good chunk of them have been the past Tarak Nor. They are pretty reliable. There are some good tricks that they can do. I wouldn't be surprised if they showed up. So 10 and 9 are Federation and Cardassian, respectively. 8 people have played Borg. Yes, they are not the easiest affiliation to play, but if you can get them to work, they are great. Especially with TNG Borg not being too bad to start with. Beyond that, you've got your affiliation, homeworld, conquering funness to play with. So I'm not going to go through all the numbers, but I am going to go through the very top. So for number 7 is the first one that broke multiple affiliations. So to top off the top 5, we have Klingons and Romulans. Uh, Klingons and Romulans are both good solvers. They've got things that they can do. Romulans have a few more tricks that they can do with weird things going on. Klingons, they can just do a straight up battle, which is always good. Um, TNG has a strong showing with them. With the Romulans, I think it's a little more TOS focused. Um, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them branching out to other factions. All right, enough about me yammering about these. Let me put the entire chart on the screen for you to look at. Here it is. So yeah, 10, 9, 8, and 7, you can see those up top. Be prepared to see some form of them. You have the Bajorans with 5. That is both Bajorans alone, think resistance deck, or just a religious prophet deck. But it's also their TNG, or sorry, Deep Space Nine. Um, with sites, there's a lot of things that they can do. And then looking down with 321, um, some factions, they affiliations and factions we've seen. Depending on who's there, I would count on seeing the Klingon Cardassian alliance. Vidians were pretty good a couple years ago when Life Science came out. Um, they've been played once at World. They've been played once at a high level event at most. Um, Something similar with the Vulcans. I wouldn't be surprised to see them. The one thing that I will point out is with non-aligned, this is one of the few first big events that we've had since To the Journey releases. And one of the big surprises for To the Journey has been the non-aligned Borg. They just have a really awesome incident they can use with group of individuals. I wouldn't be surprised to see them make an appearance. They do have the teeth. I wouldn't be surprised to see them make an appearance. They are the runaway favorite after To the Journey. They've been making huge appearances past um the they've had huge experiences past the release. Be prepared to see them. Um as far as things that you should be prepared to play with in gameplay wise, with Vidians, you do have a control of how fast they go and how many cards they draw. You might just want to slow down when you're facing a Vidian opponent. Just be ready for that. Also, the one thing to be prepared for is Borg. Be ready for them. Have a plan for them. Do not dedicate your entire deck to them. That is a horrible thing to do. You'll do great against the Borg opponent, but you will have problems against every other opponent. Just be aware and have a plan for how to deal with them. There's so many things they avoid. They avoid gender dilemmas. There's all sorts of other things they avoid. Their ships are huge. Just have a plan for them. I'm not saying you will need to affect that plan, but be ready for them. And yeah, all right, that is all that I have. Best of luck to anyone playing. Um, yeah, thank you very much for listening. We'll see what is played and what is not played afterwards. Thank you very much for listening. Best of luck to everyone playing. And yeah, um, we'll see how things turn out. Hope everyone has a bit of good luck. It's surely going to be a good time. All right. Also, sorry. Thank you very much for listening to my yammering. Hopefully, you're able to glean something useful out of it. All right. Take care and have a good